Captain Van, Starship 777. We do not go into hyperspeed with the trains. We do see a few Klingons, but we try not to take them out. We did take out a skunk the other day. Now the rules of the bus in the back there is a bathroom. If you want to go, you go back one seat at a time. You go back one person only up at a time. Guys, you need to sit down. No number this, only do this. And if the windows, we got right there, that gentleman right there with the hat on, looks like almost a U Pacific hat. Those windows come up. If I need either side, on either side, come up. That gentleman right there with the glasses, right there. If I need those side windows to go out, I need to push them out. Now, if I need these out, Wade usually takes this one, but if somebody back there could do that one for me, just go down back and push it up if I need to get you out the top. If we need to get off the bus for any reason, which we can't really do in the trains, but I gotta get you 300 feet away from the bus. And so if we have to do that, no pushing and no shoving. Just be nice to each other. Captain Van will stay on the bus or down with the ship. So anyway, have a good day. We're turning you over to Wade.
They're all GEs, or if they're maybe one E&D stuck in underneath. Looks like 71.
All right, good afternoon, everybody.
35.
Oh boy, finally got a full bus, huh? Good deal. How many of you guys been on tour before? Oh, yeah, you don't count. You were yesterday. Good deal. Well, I just tell you, stories might change a little bit, especially if you were on from yesterday, because you got to remember it's a new day. So things change overnight. Things change with history, and then I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. If at any time while we're moving, if you do have a question, please go ahead and ask it. Uncle Earl, just keep it down to a minimum. But if I don't know the answer, I'll make up a really good answer for you, though, so it'll be believable.
Good at it.
Yep. Jump right in you guys' way. Here, head on back that way, buddy. Yard. The location for this yard was scouted out by General Grenville Dodge. Some of you that might be from Council Bluffs probably know that name pretty well. He's got a house over there. He was out scouting for the U.S. Army and Union Pacific at the time, and the U.S. Army was looking for a place to put a fort to help protect the settlers. So he found a perfect place for the Union Pacific. Wanted a location to put a large yard at that was pretty much in the center of the country, and he discovered Platte, which was perfect for what they needed to do. What made it a perfect location was the two major water sources to the north and south of North Platte. So with those steam trains being primarily using water and coal, water was an important commodity, and this made it a perfect place. Consequently, he also did found a location for Fort McPherson, which is just east of North Platte. So he did accomplish both missions. So after he discovered that, not really a whole lot happened here then. Up until the Transcontinental Railroad started getting built. This is from Council Bluffs, Iowa. This was really the first major stopping point for that Transcontinental Railroad. If you've ever heard the term Hell on Wheels or seen that series Hell on Wheels, this was the original Hell on Wheels location right here back in the day. Throughout history, the town of North Platte has gotten several names. Some people even nowadays still call this place Little Chicago. It used to be pretty wild and back in the day. And apparently, when gangsters would get in trouble, the heat would get too hot in Chicago, they came to North Platte to chill out. I don't know that for a fact, but that's just what the history books say. So, just to give you kind of an idea of what we're dealing with here,
It's actually
this is the world's largest classification yard. It encompasses 2,850 acres of territory. So try to get you a little perspective on that. That's 8 miles from east to west and about 2.5 to 3 miles north to south. So I did have a friend of mine one time told me that, and he's a big time mathematician, told me that, hey, you know, mathematically speaking, with that territory, you could put 900 memorial stadiums in here and still have room for bleachers and concessions. So, any of you been to Memorial Stadium, see how big that is? That's what we're doing. Unfortunately, today, with the tour that I could give you on this size of a bus, what we're going to be able to see today is only about 25% of what's actually out there. To get to other places, we need a smaller vehicle, probably four-wheel drive. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a helicopter for a couple of them. Never know. But should still be interesting for what we're seeing now. If anytime you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand, because if you don't, I will not stop talking. The worst thing that anybody ever did was give a former United States Marine a microphone and a captive audience. So you guys are in for it now. Off to your right over here, you'll see his locomotives, and it may even look like there's a lot of locomotives out here, but in the overall scheme of things, there's really not. All these locomotives here that you see are getting ready to go into our diesel facilities, our diesel shop facilities. This diesel shop is among the largest in the system, if not the largest. It's got 11 active bays in there. They can fit 56 locomotives inside them. And on an average day, they will process approximately 100 locomotives a day through here. They come in here through this location for various reasons. Some of them may need major repairs. They can do body work in here. They can do engine work. They can do air brake work. Anything that needs to be done, they can do here. If they need to replace the diesel engine, they can replace it here. Air compressors, and they also do any kind of routine maintenance that needs done or inspections. Locomotives are inspected constantly under federal regulations. So, depending on the mileage and how long it's been since the last inspection, most of them are due regular inspections on almost a monthly basis.
Operation Lifesaver.
It looks like that one.
If you see that low cut, that half a car over there, it's called a gondola car, but that little mound over there is shavings of steel. This is one of the few facilities that can actually take the wheels off of the train, the traction motors, and they put them on like a lathe, and they retune the wheels, so they make sure the wheels are perfectly round before they come out of here, if they need it. Another good thing is if you get a type of car or the shop foreman over here, he'll let you take a bucket full of that stuff home with you, because if you're in bladesmithing or blacksmithing, that makes great Damascus steel. Just a little bit of information.
8404, 8527.
Now the smaller building over here, this is a supply operations building. Here in North Platte, Bailey Yard, it's usually if we need something, like let's say we need paper, we don't need you normally don't need a ream of paper. We usually need like 3 pallets of reams of paper. You don't need a pencil, you need 10,000 pencils. So it's not really feasible for us to go to Walmart and get what we need. So we have our own supply operations building. They supply everything we use in this yard, from pens and pencils to diesel locomotive engines, air brake systems, you name it, they got it. It's actually patterned, the way they operate and the way they do things is patterned off of a military supply system. And anybody that has any kind of experience with military supply, these folks are just as stingy as those folks are. Okay, tell you what, if you go in there one time and try to get a pair of gloves, the lady at the counter is like, I ain't got no gloves. And I look back, there's like 100 pair right there. Well, if I give you, then I only have 99 pair now, don't I? So, go figure. This side of the shop, any locomotives you see on this side of the shop have been worked. They're getting ready to be put back in service again in outbound trains.
Oh wow, there's one way down there. That's old skate.
This little pond you see off to your left over here, this is actually our oil water separator that helps us filter out the oil from the soil and everything else, or all overused oil. Our environmental guy keeps telling me that this is the cleanest water in the state of Nebraska, right here. And to demonstrate it, once in a while, he'll go down there and drink a cup of it. And I'm like, oh, good job. He says, yeah, you can actually go fishing out of here. And I said, yeah, I'll go fishing there, but you're eating them. Now, as I stated earlier, actually for anybody that's interested, the Abraham Lincoln is right over here. If you see the bright red train, our locomotive right there. Unfortunately, we can't get a better shot of it for where it's at.
Darn.
I was kind of hoping by now they'd have pulled it out someplace we could actually get a good look at it. Maybe the next tour. So everybody come back in 2 hours, okay? Now, with the classification yard, for what we are here, this is, no trains originate or do they terminate here in North Platte. Everything is run through. We're a classification yard. And what that means is, if you're driving down the road, you see a train off to the side on the main line, and you see all kinds of different cars. You might see tank cars, refrigerator cars, so forth and so forth. Those cars aren't, contrary to popular belief, all those cars aren't going to the same end destination. Some of those cars may be going to Council Bluffs, Iowa. Some might be going down to Fort Worth, Texas. Some might be going to Boston, Mexico, who knows? So what happens is when that train comes in, let's say it's coming in from Cheyenne and it stops here in North Platte. This is a crew change location. That train, what we'll do with that train is we will park it in our receiving yard over here. We detach the locomotives from the train. The carmen go out there, they drain all the air off the train, so there's no standing air on the air brake system. And then a switch crew on a remote control locomotive will run around to the other end of it, to the west end, and shove it towards what we call the hill, or hump. Now, if you look off to your right up here, and to the front, this big, this little complex here, that's called our east hump. Just like it sounds, it's just like a little hump, little hill, that's all it is. And that locomotive, what it's doing, once they tie it down to the west end, is they're going to shove all those cars towards the hill. Now, once those cars hit the apex of that hill, there's a train person up there that's going to pull a release pin, and they're going to go ahead and separate those cars. So what happens is he or she is looking at a big billboard up there, and that's going to tell him where to pull the pin. And he's going to release 1 car through 4 cars. We can release up to 4 cars at a time. If we have more than that, we will have to shove them down into the bolt tracks. Now, the way this works is all these cars go into what we call the bowl. And the best way to envision a bowl is, think about a tree that's laid down on its side. You have the main track, which is the track going over the hump. And then as it goes down the line towards the bowl tracks, it starts branching out. And it exponentially gets bigger. From 2 tracks, 4 tracks to 8 tracks, so forth and so forth. So in this case, it branches out to 64 tracks. So each one of these tracks has its own location, and this is all run through the computer system that identifies these cars and the commodity and the destination. So once it gets to the apex, we release the car, and Mother Nature kind of takes over with gravity. Once it starts rolling down the hill, and we have to start paying attention to where that car is going and how fast it's going. So there's a number that we use that I usually call the magic number, but it's called distance to couple, and that's how far does that car have to go before it meets the next car in its destination rail. And as you could probably guess, that is constantly changing. So the farther it goes, the smaller that number gets. And at any given time, we could have 5 or 10 cars rolling at one time in here, so you got to keep track of all
the old
that.
retarders.
So there's a series of radar guns all over out there that are actually keeping track of this. Now the goal is for those cars when they roll into their destination rail, is that they meet that first car in that rail at no greater than 4 miles per hour. That way we don't damage the car and we don't damage the customer's product. So anything greater than that, we run the risk of doing that. Once these rails are full to a degree, and I don't know what the standard is, but what will happen is we start building the next train outside of town, or to leave town. So on the other end of the bowl here, there's train crews out there that'll come into the back side of these tracks. They'll start making sure all the cars are coupled up in there, and they'll pull them out. They'll double them over to another track and another track. As many tracks as their list tells them to go to, they pull them straight down a lead towards the east side of town, or towards the east side of the yard, and then that's where they stop. That's where they'll build the new train.
Do you think we could build this yard and
Correct. Yeah, it'll still be, most trains, very seldom do you see a train as a whole going to the same location or has the same terminating point. There is a type of train, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, that actually does that. But most of your manifest trains, very few of them where all the cars be going to the same place. So they're always good. So there'll be another train. They'll have a different train symbol. All the cars that came to North Platte originally, that train will cease to exist, as you saw it, and they'll be spread on different trains. Possibly, yeah. There's all kinds of variables that can happen. Now, in order to accomplish this mission, the one thing that we really have to be doing is we have to be able to control the speed. So once it comes down the hill, we don't just let Mother Nature take over and yeehaw, down the rail it goes. All right, it might seem that way, but it's really not. Okay, to accomplish the mission of making sure that they make a hook or they couple together at less than 4 miles an hour, we have to be able to slow these cars down. So if you look off to your left over here, these great big metal contraptions on the ground, these are called retarders. And what these are brakes. So we have the ability to slow down or even stop a car in place with these retarders. The best way to envision how these things work is think about a gigantic set of disc brakes. And you have a track running between them, between these two brakes, and gigantic metal plates on both sides of it. When it's activated, they slam together on the sides of the steel wheels, and they slow the car down, or we can stop it in place if we need to. That's how these work. And unfortunately, they're not humping any cars down right now, so we don't really get to see them in action. But you will be able to hear them when they do. If you're farther down in town, you'll hear them going through, either on the other side of town. You can hear these things. They sound like whales talking to each other. Wee, wee. And if you're up close, all it does is make your ears ring. So if you imagine fingernails on a chalkboard times thousands, okay, there you go. That's what it sounds like. Now, funny thing is none of these switches or retarders are electrically operated. These are all pneumatic retarders. So these are compressed air is what we use. The compressed air throws the switches faster than the electric motors do, and it's a little more dependable to a degree. So these big blue pipes you see in the blue container, that's all compressed air. So as you can probably imagine, that takes quite a bit of air. So that 33-gallon Craftsman air compressor you got at home isn't really going to cut it. I'm sorry. We need something just a little bit bigger. And the air isn't just compressed air. This air has to be filtered and it has to be bone dry to be running through these lines. So where we'll see next up here, we'll come up to a building that's got a bunch of blue, or 3 blue containers and a bunch of blue coils on it. That's that whole building right there is just a great big air compressor. There's a couple of great big diesel engines in there that drive the compressors to generate the air, and that's how we get the air, and that's just for one hump. North Platte is blessed to have 2 humps. We have 5 humps in the UP system. We have 2 of them here in North Platte. So there's another system on the west side that's doing the exact same thing this one does. This tower here is actually nowadays just a hangout. The operating managers hang out, do their thing. Years gone by, before everything was computerized, they used to have retarder operators sitting up in that tower who would manually operate those retarders based on their experience. Consequently, they put a lot of things in the dirt too. So. Now, I will caution you, if you're ever in North... Question, sir?
Yeah, how much PSI do you have on average running through these tanks?
I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That is a good question. I'll have to find that one out. So, but let's see. Now, with the hump system, the 2 humps here in North Platte, we actually have 2 styles of humps. They both accomplish the same mission, but in different ways. You have an inline hump, which what this is here, this is the east hump. And what that means is when train comes in, it goes to the receiving yard, and it's completely in line with the hump, which is in line with the bowl, which is in line with the departure tracks. So it's just one straight shot going all the way through. Pretty seamless operation there. The west hump, we'll be able to see that here in a little bit. We're not going to be able to get up close to that because it's not practical to try to take a bus to where the west hump is at. But the west hump is actually called a side-by-side hump. Yes, sir.
Have you ever had that hump
No, we can't hump intermodal articulated cars. No. If for some reason they need to be classified, they get shoved to a rest. But the west hump is actually set up completely different. It's not in line. It's called a side-by-side hump. And with the west hump, the trains come in to a receiving yard that's right next to the hump, and they have to pull that out down a pullback train and then shove it back towards the hill. So a little V pattern right there. They go straight down from the hump into the bowl again, and then when they trim them out to make the new train, they have to pull them out and shove them to another rails to the side of that. So it makes kind of like a big Z pattern to be able to build a train there. Not quite as proficient as the east side, but it's still a lot better than flat switching those cars. Now, up to this point, we've pretty much been talking about manifest cargo, mixed freight. We do have a different kind of train that we routinely deal with here, and that's called a bulk commodity train or a unit train. And what that is that's a train that does not have to be classified. That train always has the same origin point and always has the same destination. A good example is coal trains. All they do is they run from the mines to the coal plant, back to the mines again. So there's no real reason to have to classify that train because they're all going the same place. So what we try to do to expedite the motion on those trains, the movement on those trains, is we try to make it as proficient as possible. So at the run through here, there's 10 run through tracks. And if you look over here off to your left, or excuse me, off to your right, yeah, it looks like they're getting ready to hump a couple cars there. Yeah, we'll be back this way, so they should still be humping if that's a full train when we come back here. Off to the right here, this yellow erector set looking thing, that's our east hump, our east run through. I'm sorry, east hump.
Wow.
That encompasses 10 tracks right there, and the objective is to keep that entire train together, so the locomotives stay on. When the train crew comes in, they'll park it right on the east end of there, and they'll depart. The locomotives stay on it, all the cars stay on it, and once they depart, with the oncoming crew, the outbound crew comes on there, gets off. They can they air test all the cars on there, make sure the air brakes are 100% operable. Mechanical forces will get on there, they'll sand, re-sand and refuel the locomotive.
3981.
Maybe if you're lucky, they'll clean it up a little bit, and then get ready to rock and roll. Next crew's call. There's from the time a train stops to the time it departs again, it's just a matter of a couple hours. So they really expedite the movement on this train. Whereas opposed to the hump, if it has to be classified, it might take anywhere from 12 to 24 hours.
4004.
Cars back on the road again. Now here off to right, you see our big fuel tanks here. Our fuel is piped in for down south. I'm not sure where it comes in from, but it is directly piped in here, so we don't have to try transporting our own fuel around. The special agents really don't want me to tell you how much fuel's in these things, but I think if you're observant a little bit, you'll figure it out. Back in the early 2000s, about 2006, that time zone there, we were, and you'll hear me refer to that time period a lot because that was kind of the show horse of Bailey Yard of what we could do in this yard. But we were running coal like it was going out of style. It just coal train nose to tail, both directions. It was just crazy. we used to refill this blue one every day. So that's how much fuel we would use on a daily basis. There was a time when the only one that used as much diesel fuel as us or more was the U.S. Navy. And now I think that since they're mostly nuclear, I think we're the top right now. So. Now once we get up here a little ways, we're going to stop on top of this bridge if we can. And this is outside of the Golden Spike. This is the only place where you can see the east and west limits of the yard here, provided there's not too much haze on it. Last one we couldn't see the eastern limits and barely see the western, but it's a little clearer now than it was, so hopefully we can see it this time. It's also a great opportunity to take some photographs. If you want to, you'll get a good shot of some of our coal trains and our longer trains over here that from the top view, which a lot of people don't ever get a chance to see.
Oh, I was wrong. That train is being built.
Yeah, years ago over there by way on the east end of the yard, there was a roundhouse. Actually, if you see an aerial photo of the Bailey yard, you can still see the circle where it used to be. Yeah. 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 Yes.
Y424.
Yeah. There should only be one. Normally there's only one person. So if there's any more people than that, it'll be usually a trainee. They're usually the one with the clean vest on. So you can, or they got an orange hat. One of the two.
How did it get two of those? Not like the same engines, but like something like
Yeah.
That other one's a slug. It's got no engine in it.
Okay. All these trains you see off here to your left. Anything you see in here, this is the receiving yard for the east hump. So any trains in here will be humped sometime today. These humps, we run 24 hours a day. Actually, the whole yard is 24 hours a day, broken into 3 shifts. And we work 365 days a year. There's no time. The only time this yard shuts down anymore is if the FRA mandates a safety stand down for something. We'll shut down for that time period to do whatever it is that we're mandated to do. We pick right back up again. We used to shut down the yard for holidays, major holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and these days it's just not practical to do that anymore because we shut this yard down for one day and we will literally have trains backed up from here to Cheyenne, from here to Council Bluffs, and then it takes roughly 5 days for this thing to get back in order again. So it's just not cost effective to do that anymore. They much easier to pay the overtime to all the guys working on the holiday than try to shut it down.
With all those coal.
Look at all that coal. That's a lot of coal to transport.
Okay, well you can just barely see our eastern limit from here. If you look off to your right hand side, all the way down there, if you can see the water tower or that real tall building, the grain elevator right there, that is our very eastern limit for the yard. Yeah, just hazy enough that we can see it. And then if you look off to your left, that bridge you see in the back over there, that's our western limit. So that's roughly 8 miles right there. Now these coal trains you see, keep in mind, if you're used to, maybe a short while ago, you used to go to work every day, you always had to wait for a coal train to pass, it always took 5 minutes for it to pass, and now you're wondering why it's taking 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That's us, okay? We're doubling the lengths of these trains, so now you're waiting double the time. Hopefully it doesn't break right in front of you, because it'll take forever to get around it. But yeah, we most of these trains we will double up before they leave town, so that yeah, I do not know the history on that because there's so many variations of that. Okay, we can go there. Yeah.
What's the longest train you run
I really don't know what the longest is because they all vary so much. We've ran one train out here that was actually, well, it wasn't out of here, it's out of Marysville, Kansas. They actually had 3 coal trains back to back to back, and didn't work out very well, let's put it that way. It's really difficult to get air to flow that far, but
There goes the
they
locomotive.
tried it. Right now there's no regulations, unfortunately, on how long trains can be. So as
54.49.
technology and ideas to keep coming, UPs keep building trains longer and longer and longer until somebody tells them to stop. The one thing holding us back right now is if we have problems with one of those big trains, there's almost no sidings in the United States that can take it. So it has to stop in place and block the main. Up here in the
Chicago
front,
Western.
this building up here, it's got that round sign on it. That's actually not Union Pacific. That originally used to be General Electric. Now it's Wabtec owns that building. But the reason it's here, and it's not UP employees that work out of there either, it's Wabtec employees. Or sometimes General Electric, I don't know for a fact. But why we have that here is once again, back in the 2000s when we were running lots of coal trains, we also bought lots of locomotives, and $2 million a pop at that time. That was actually a pretty good deal because they're double the price now. So you can get a brand new locomotive right now, $4 million, clean and easy, 2 installments. That's it. But just like when you buy a new car, though, there's certain things that only the dealer or the maker can repair on that car. It's the same thing with locomotives. So consequently, what was happening is that we'd get a brand new locomotive out here that all of a sudden it got recalled to the factory because they had to change the bolt, and it could only be done by the maker. It wouldn't let any of our ill-trained mechanics twist that bolt off and put a new bolt in. So what would happen is that locomotive would be gone for 90 days plus. So you spend $2 million on a locomotive, hasn't even pulled a ton of cargo yet, and now I just lost it for upwards of 120 days. So as you can imagine, that probably did a little consternation with the head shit there in Omaha, and they negotiated this. They can do that work here, keep it on property, and the turnaround time is sometimes just a matter of hours instead of months. So now with the west run or east run through we just saw, this is the west run through. And you probably noticed it's a little bit different configuration here, and you're quite right, to be honest with you. This on the east side, the fueling rack only has to cover 10 tracks. So this one, if you were to make this mirror image that one, it'd have to cover over 30 tracks. So that would be a huge expenditure to try to do something like that. So what happens here, instead of the locomotive staying on the train, is the locomotives will be cut away from the train once it stops. They bring them up here to the rack where they can get fueled and sanded and maintained or whatever. And then the oncoming crew will usually come and pick them up and put them back on the train. So not quite as proficient, but still a lot faster than tearing that train apart. Now you see a lot of things out here that got like little gates that go across the rails on them. They're all blue colored. We'll be coming up to some here in just a second. These are this is what we call our blue flag protection. One of the most effective way to prevent somebody from getting hurt between rails when they're working on a locomotive or car or whatever is blue flag protection. And what we do with blue flag protection is anytime there's a blue light or on the rail or even a blue flag, anything blue between the rail, you can't go past that point. And most of the yards here, like this one right here, you can see it says safety first on it. When that's activated, that sign will point so you can read it from the rail, and it puts a derail up on top of the rail. So if a train crew accidentally gets in there with cars to put on, it'll knock them into the dirt. So it'll take them off the rail, it'll derail that car, and us in the transportation industry call that a bad thing. So usually your career's at risk if you do that. But blue flag protection is incredibly important because anytime that's up, that means there's somebody working on, under, or in between cars on that rail.
Oh, it's got coal all over it.
dirty.
Ooh, a caboose.
Now, off to your left over here, this caboose you're looking at is
What?
one of the few remaining cabooses that's fully functional in Union Pacific. And we don't use it in the traditional role of the caboose. It doesn't ride on the end of trains anymore. What we use this for is in the winter time or any time of the weather conditions making it possible for us to get out and relieve our crews on the main line with the four-wheel drive vehicles. We'll put relief crews in there, and we'll put locomotives and cars on either side of it, facing opposite the caboose, and we'll pull them out there and we'll relieve crews that way. So consequently, the name of that is a blizzard bus. So that's what we use it for. So, but yeah, I used to think it was, up until yesterday, I thought it was the only one remaining that actually worked. And a gentleman yesterday informed me that Boone, Iowa has one too. And I was like, well, prove it. Anyhow, as you can see in front of you, there's the coal yard here. So you see all these tracks, they go, you can't even see the end of where they keep turning into tracks. It's pretty impractical to build a rack to encompass all that.
Why are all the cabooses that are still here today like that?
They don't use the, that's just something they put out there.
No, why is that the only kind of caboose?
Yeah, a normal crew with a train crew is a two-person crew. It's usually it's an engineer and a conductor. And if you're really having a bad day, you'll have a manager on there.
There's some junk in there.
And why do they only have bay
Some locomotives over there. A couple GEs.
Nobody's curious about the Area 51 summit. In the bunker? I mean, come on now. We're not paying attention here, folks. Yeah. Pretty much all main lines these days are concrete. And then here coming pretty quick, you'll see a plastic. Yeah. So, now Area 51, okay, there's a couple stories behind that. There's the official company version, and then there's the truth. Which one do you want to hear? Everybody says the truth, or says both. They always say both. So anyhow, the official company position on it is, once again, back in the 2006 time period, we were able to actually run 51 coal trains through this coal yard right here, which depending on your knowledge base or how interested you are in paying attention to facts and figures like that, is a huge feat in the railroad business. There's probably not another yard in the world that could have done something like that. And we managed to accomplish that in 2006. So that's the company version. Now the real, what I would consider to be the true version of that is you have to kind of be a tradesman working out here to understand what happens in that building. Inside of that building, you've got, there you go, everybody say hi. Maybe they'll shut up if you say hi. Yeah, after a while, those things don't even bother you. You can be right next to one and going off doesn't even bother you. So anyhow, in that Area 51 building, you kind of got to understand what's inside of there. And what works out of that building, you got a couple of yard masters, you got the the car foreman, the mechanical foreman, you got operating managers in there, and so you got all this brain power there making all this railroad experience, and well, we're going to make this place seamlessly move. So some of the things they concocted there and come up with really make some strange things happen out here in the yard, and it's not pretty sometimes. So bunkers, because we don't go according to plan, somebody's coming over there to get them a little something, and they got a place to put themselves. So. Yeah, it looks like they're switching out of interval. Now, interesting point with Bailey Yard. You see a lot of undeveloped areas out here, all these trees and everything. in all actuality, Bailey Yard is actually in its own right a game preserve for the state of Nebraska. It's not official. You're not going to see Bailey Yard game preserve any place, but we do happen to have, since there's no hunting allowed here or trapping or anything like that, we do have pretty much any animal that's indigenous to the state of Nebraska.
Safety is my responsibility.
So they got tons of deer here, tons of rabbits, coyote, fox, you name it, we got it. Deer, skunks.
Daddy, that's
But
the first car in that trailer.
actually, here a few years ago, we actually had a mountain lion here in the yard. That made, a mountain lion was wandering around here. That was pretty interesting. A few days right there because. Yeah, none of your trainmen when they come to work with a mountain lion, they say, I'm not going to work unless I got a gun. I'm like, well, what are you going to do with the gun? Well, what do you think I'm going to do with it? And I just look up and say, do you honestly think you're going to hear a mountain lion stalking you, so you're going to turn around and fill it full of lead? Good luck with that. But now this Game and Parks came out here, trapped it, and released it someplace. I don't know. He hasn't written or called back, so we don't know what his status is.
Here's an ace.
No, we really don't have any trouble with hunters trying to sneak in here. This is a neat thing about Bailey Yard is as opposed to a lot of your big yards like the Chicago Proviso Yard, things like that, or Def down there in Kansas City. We don't have to have a whole lot of security here because our primary security is our crews. The people that work in the yard every day. It's real easy, believe it or not, to find somebody, to identify somebody who doesn't belong there. Number one, it's a small enough community where pretty much everybody, especially they work here, pretty much know everybody. And then if there's somebody you don't recognize, if they're wearing bright clothing, fluorescent orange clothing, and they look lost, that's a new hire, so he kind of belongs here. But if they're just kind of walking around and not know what they're doing, and they just seem out of place, yeah, that's probably somebody that just the special agents of the sheriff's department called on them. We do get transients out here every now and then, mostly in the wintertime. We'll see those transients on the locomotives, on the DPUs. The agents have to take them off of that. They usually don't charge them with anything unless when they run their names and they got warrants, they'll take them down to the sheriff's office. But they usually just give them right off property and send them on their way. Now, with these unit trains, and everybody here has probably seen, has everybody noticed that you'll see a train quite often where it's got locomotives on the head end and in the middle and maybe in between the middle and the end and the end. So it's like you got locomotives everywhere in the consist. Well, those locomotives that are anything past the head end of the train is called a DPU, or distributed power units. And what those do is those help us control what's called the in-train forces in our train. There's two major forces that operate on that affect the train, and that's the buff forces, which is trying to compress that train together, and draft forces, which is trying to pull it apart. So with the size of the trains we're running, we need extra locomotives in there to be able to control those forces. So the engineer has two options of what they can do with these locomotives. They can, the term is called putting up a fence, which means, and I don't know why they call it this, but basically what that means is that all those locomotives will do exactly what the lead locomotive's doing. So if they're throttling up, they're all going to throttle up. If they're going to apply air, they're all going to apply air. Or they can run them independently. So that engineer can run each and every one of those locomotives independently of the head end. And the reason you need to do that sometimes, especially with the lengths of the trains we're running now, is because you can easily find yourself in a position where your head end might be on perfectly flat ground, and the middle of your train might be on both sides of a hill, and the tail end of your train coming down a hill. Well, if you just had locomotives on the head end of that train, you'd probably break that thing in half 15 times before you got it all on flat rail again. So with that engineer being able to slow some locomotives down and speed other locomotives up, they try to keep that train bunched together as much as they can so there's no slapping around those cars. They also help, believe it or not, to conserve fuel. Because one of the things we like to do when we're running is we like to keep that train in a, what I usually call like a neutral state. You can get that train actually kind of floating on the rail, so to speak, because the They won't be pulling on your head end. They won't be bunched together. They'll just be floating on themselves. There won't be any slack action being pulled up between the knuckles. There's a little gap of air between each knuckle, and it's just right in the middle right there. So there's no pressure on that train whatsoever. So it's a big fuel saver. Locomotives. Question we get a lot of times is fuel mileage of locomotives, and the word mileage is kind of a misnomer there. Oftentimes we don't measure miles per gallon. Sometimes we'll measure inches per gallon, depending on what we're pulling and what terrain we're on. But it all depends. It's a big variable, fuel economy. For example, let's say you have an empty coal train here in North Platte that's going to go to South Morrow, Nebraska. It's got 2 locomotives on the head end and a locomotive on the end for a DPU.
You already heard that?
Going up is about 1,000. You run about 1,000 gallons per locomotive if they're all online and pulling, getting up there South Morrow. When that same train comes back to North Platte and it's loaded, provided they haven't changed the locomotives or anything, and let's say they're pulling it down towards Marysville, Kansas. Okay, each one of those locomotives would probably burn less than 500 gallons, or even less than that, going down to Marysville, even though it's loaded. And the reason that happens is because there's a slight downhill grade from here to Marysville, Kansas, and Council Bluffs, Iowa. So once they can get that train up to speed, they can, most times they can just put it in neutral and it'll just coast. So it's just idling the whole way down there. Provided they don't get slowed down by signals or have to stop or anything like that. But for the most part, they can coast it most of the way down there. So it saves a lot of fuel. So off to your left over here, you can see the west hump. It's exact same operation. It does the exact same thing as the east hump, except for, like I said, it's a side-by-side hump. The cars that are going over the hump right now, they actually come from a receiving yard that is just a little bit this way of the hump. You can see the cars right over here. Actually, looks like they pretty much humped their receiving yard out, so they're doing pretty good over there.
I told him we need to buy him a shirt.
And the bolt tracks here are just a little bit smaller. There's 50 tracks here as opposed to 64 on the east side. Clean out the cars. Well, if they need cleaned out, there's a hog track over here and there's a freight house lead over here. But we don't use that hardly anymore for no.
316, 416.
No, we don't clean locomotives. We don't clean cars. Okay, locomotives. We used to have a wash rack here in North Platte, and periodically the locomotives would go through there and they get cleaned up, look real nice and everything. And then the company realized, well, you know what? A dirty locomotive pulls just the same as a clean one. So there you go. So that's where, if it rains hard enough, it'll clean them up. So you've probably seen it here a little bit. If you look up to the front and off to the right, there's a locomotive up there with blinking lights on top of it. What that signifies, whenever you see that happening, that locomotive is in remote control mode. So there may or may not be somebody on that locomotive operating it while it's moving. All the switch jobs here in North Platte are remote control locomotives. There's train person, there's switchmen on the ground, but they may or may not be on the head. They could be as far as 2 miles away and still operate that locomotive. As long as they can safely see where that locomotive is going, what we call protecting the point. As long as they can do that, and they can see anything that's in the path of that, they're protecting the point.
This is a
Will
ballast
we get 2
train.
miles away from it? Never. Okay, not, at least not in this yard. But it is capable of doing that. Right. Well, our Fremont Union Pacific, they're connected to us, and as far as our crews will run there. Right. We have a limited range that we could run. you'll never see a North Platte crew go from like right here and all the way to Des Moines, Iowa or something like that. Our limit going eastward is Missouri Valley, Council Bluffs, and Marysville. That's as far east as we can run it. We can run as far west as Cheyenne, Wyoming, and South Morrill, Nebraska. Now, South Morrill, if you don't know where that's at, Scotts Bluff. Scotts Bluff's the closest town to stop. Now, that's as far as we can run. We're outside of our district if we run there.
Here comes a Z train screaming.
Excavator. Yeah, I told him to be here. Yeah, we used to wave it all. I always had somebody on there.
It's a solid consist.
Now, we were talking earlier about the trains that being trimmed out or recreated on the other end of the bowl from the East Bowl. That's what these trains out here to your right are. All these trains, all these cars there you see right here, just a couple hours ago were in the East Bowl. They went over the hump and they're in the East Bowl. Now they're getting ready. They're getting tested, getting the locomotives added to the head end, getting ready to leave town. Yeah, that's going to the east run through right there. Now you're not going to be able to see it very easily, except for through this train. But there's a building over here, and it's kind of the counterpart to the diesel shop, but it's for cars. Just like the diesel shop can do pretty much anything that needs done to a locomotive, this one, what we call the one-spot facility, is can do anything that needs to be done with a car. With a car. These cars, they need everything. Every car that leaves North Platte has to be 100% functional. So 100% functional 100% of the time, or it can't leave North Platte. If we can't fix it in the rail, we'll bring it here, and those guys can fix it. One of the things they do the most of is they change wheel sets. And if you ever get a chance to Google changing the wheels on a rail car, go ahead and look that up one day. It's pretty neat how they do it here. They can change all 4 axles of wheels on a car faster than you can take the tire off the pit. It's a real simple process. It's a zip, we're done. Because believe it or not, these cars are not attached mechanically to the wheel trucks that are down there. All they do is they set out center pins, and so they can rotate around. You can take those cars with a forklift and pick them straight up off the wheels. And guess what? Tornadoes can do the same thing. Now you'll have to look between the cars again over here, but if you can see this big long building up here, this tan building, that's was a project once again back in our glory days and the cold days. It's called the wheel defect detector, and what we were finding out was that with all the coal trains that we were running and all the constant pounding that these wheels were taking, steel wheels on steel rails with heavy loads applied to them, creates a lot of damage to a wheel that you can't see. And so we were having a lot of incidences of broken wheels. Sometimes they cause derailments, and so it was getting to be an issue. So the UP team decided to go ahead and experiment here in North Platte with a wheel defect detector. And what was supposed to happen is a train would slow down to 5 miles per hour and run the entire train through that building right there. And there's a series of infrared and X-ray imaging in there that would photograph every wheel in there and analyze every wheel and send the report to its wherever that thing was going in the yard, to a destination. And then what would happen was then they would know which wheels they had to replace. And almost immediately our defects went away. We didn't use this for very long, just a year or so, if even that long. But what it did do for us is it blazed the path that we can now do the same thing with detectors on the mainline rail. So instead of just coal trains going through there as you can fit them in, now we can do every train we run through there and inspect every wheel every time it goes on the track. So consequently our defects are down to virtually 0 right now. the cameras for virtual rail fans. There are, I think there's an app or a website you can get on through the Spike that shows the yard. It is on a time loop, so I think there's a 12 or 24 hour variance in there, so it's not real time.